Finding the perfect resort for your clients can be frustrating and take hours of research. TA Toolkit solves that problem for you. We have over 700 items your clients request, plus you can search multiple destinations at once. You'll have a list of resorts that match your clients' needs in less than 10 minutes. Sign up today with the promo code WAVEPREP2024 for a 14-day free trial. TA Toolkit, it's about time.
Running a travel business can be overwhelming, but imagine if there was a single tool that helped you look professional, stay organized, was easy to use, and affordable. That's just what Travefy does. Travefy gives you the essential tools you need to look like a travel biz pro. Travefy is the most trusted system used by over 30,000 travel brands worldwide. So get started with a system that helps you get back to the joy of planning travel and run your travel business like a pro with Travefy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back or welcome to day one of Foundations. I'm not sure if we're your first, your second, possibly even your third presentation for the day. So we are so excited to have you here on Prep for Wave Week to really get your business starting to think more like a business, less like a hobby as we prepare for Wave Season 2025. So I hope you've been taking lots of amazing notes. This session, I'm sure, is one that you'll also be taking some notes at as we talk about something. Margie and I both know that this is probably not one of the favorite topics, but it's one of the topics that you really have to pay attention to so that you're making data-driven decisions and not decisions based on drama, meaning like you have feelings about things or you're seeing certain things, but are those accurate to like what you're seeing in the data? So super welcome back to Margie Jordan of Jordan Executive Travel to Prep for Wave Week. Hey, Margie.
Hey there. I'm excited to be here for Wave Week. Lots going on, right?
Lots going on. It is a packed week. I keep saying like ball, like I keep thinking about like the ball dropping for like the new year, like the ball keeps dropping or we're doing mic drop moments, all those things. It's just like big explosions, amazing explosions that are happening. So for people that don't know you, and I'll link up, Margie was also on the inaugural Prep for Wave Week. So the interview that we did back then, I'll go ahead and post it below as well. She was on the Unique Holiday Experience series last year. But for people who may not know who you are, can you share how you got into this industry and what you're currently doing?
Oh my goodness. So lots of things. First and foremost, I am a travel advisor, just like most of the listeners. I have been a travel advisor. Next year will be 20 years. I just can't hardly believe it.
Yay!
I'm excited. Next year will be 20 years.
That's
But
awesome.
I started my agency in 2005, Jordan Executive Travel. We're a boutique travel agency here in Jacksonville, Florida. And we have a pretty good client list. I love doing what I do. We sell a little higher end travel.
Mhm.
I also am a local on-air travel expert for my local news media. So I go on air anytime something happens. When COVID first happened, I felt like I was living at the station. And back in that day, we were still actually going to the station until they realized how easily you could spread COVID. Then we started doing things virtually. In addition to that, I am a travel advisor, business coach, and I've got a lot of other little projects going on, but that's in essence what I do.
Yeah. How would you say when we're talking about data, would you say you've always been a data lover, or is this something you had to grow into?
I've always been a little bit of a data nerd. And when I
Uh-huh.
say that, I kind of like to dig in where most people don't and
Mhm.
see what's happening behind the scenes. I'm a very techie girl, so I love anything that relates to it. But I've always been one to want to see what's going on behind the scenes. So I would say, yeah, for the most part, I've
Yeah.
always been a tech person, a nerdy kind of person with the numbers.
Yeah, I feel like with the strategic travel entrepreneur, I've been more apt for the numbers, looking at downloads and consumption rate to kind of drive the decisions that I make of like who's featured on the podcast or what I talk about on the podcast. I know not a lot of people have podcasts though in the travel advisor space. So in lieu of podcast stats, what are kind of more, I don't want to say general, but I guess more wide worthy podcast data points in the travel advisor space?
So travel advisors, most travel advisors are using social media in some form.
Mhm,
If you want to look at basic data, you would be looking at how your posts are performing. If you're running ads on social media, I hope you're paying attention to how they're performing as well. So
mhm,
social media would be a basic place to start.
mhm,
But there's also your email marketing. If you're using ConvertKit, Flowdesk, or any of those sort of platforms, you should have some data to
mhm,
see what's happening when you send an email, how many people are opening it, which ones haven't been delivered or which ones haven't been opened, and are they clicking on any of the links that you have in that email? So you should see that. A third one that's particularly important to pay attention to would be Google Analytics. And
mhm.
for the more techie people, maybe even Google Search Console. But
Yes.
we may be digging a little deeper with Google Search Console right now.
That before we got on, I was like, huh, let me check my analytics and my search console. It's interesting that you mentioned them too, because I'm like, I don't know what the difference between these two are because I know they're both analytics, but they're very different.
Yes, they definitely are. With Google Search Console, you're going to be able to see your pages that are actually indexed in search.
Hmm,
That's super important. You want to know that Google is showing your stuff.
right.
And if it's not, you want to diagnose why. So that's primarily what I use Google Search Console for. Anytime I publish a new piece of content, actually, I do two things. I have a Google alert set. So anytime my name is mentioned in anything or my agency name is mentioned in anything, I get a
Um,
Google alert.
nice.
And I've been doing that for years. So every time I make a new blog post, I get a Google alert. And I'm like, okay, Google found it.
Yeah. I need to set up some Google. I think I had some Google alerts set up in the beginning, and I was like, oh, it just gets overwhelming, especially if you have like anything cruise or anything land or however you set them up if it's not just you're trying to search for your own information that's out there.
It's exhaustive. A lot of people use it for other research purposes and that sort of thing, which is really a great resource. That way you don't have to always go hunting.
Mhm.
But the more general the search term is or that you're using for Google, the harder it is going to be to sort through that.
Yeah. When we think about data and analytics and what the importance is, obviously we're talking about making decisions, but I kind of like want to even break down, like I want to break it down even more so that it's really basic and simple so that people instead of being scared or shudder at the term like data and analytics, they're like, well, yes, now I understand. Like I want to make it more user friendly and not these words that we don't know exactly what they mean.
So let's start with probably the harder one, like Google Analytics, and maybe tackle three different things you're going to want to pay attention to with, let's say, Google Analytics for your website and social media. Those are probably the easiest place to start. So one of the things that I'm looking for on Google Analytics is how my customers behave when they get to my site.
Mm,
And how are they finding my site? I want to know about keywords. I want to know about referral links. What a referral link is say, Rita, if you posted my agency website on your site, that is a referral link. Somebody could click on that and come to my agency website from your website. That's a
mhm,
referrer. So I want to make sure I have some of those out there. You absolutely need to have referral links. So if you're doing anything, posting any content for anybody or creating anything, or you're on anybody's show or anything, make sure they post your website link because that will give you a referral. But I am looking to see how people are getting to my site. Number one, are they
mhm,
coming from social media? Where are they coming from? And then once they get there, I want to know what pages they're landing on. Where are they going from the home page, for instance? Did they get there by way of a blog post? And if they did,
mhm,
which one was it? So I kind of know what content is resonating out there. Now, these are leads. They're not my clients, so I can't say whether they're ideal clients or whether they're any of that yet. I have no idea. All I know is these are people that have found my website and have come to it.
Mhm.
One of the things I could tell from my analytics was there are 3 pages that they pay the most attention to as soon as they come. They look at the contact page, they
Mhm.
look at the FAQ page, and they look at the services page. Now, what's funny to me is nobody was paying attention to the FAQ page for a little while. And now they're spending like a couple of minutes on the FAQ page, and I'm trying to figure out,
Oh.
like, okay, what are you looking at? Attention to over there. It was just so wild that they were paying attention to it. But since I know kind of the top 3 pages they go for right after they hit that home page, then it's really important for me to make sure the pages they're going to are seriously optimized. That they're beautiful, that the content is great out there, and that they spend a little time on those pages. Not so much the contact page, because it's just a web form. You could fill
Mhm.
it out in 10 seconds and be done. But for the services page, I want you to spend a little bit of time there. So if you look at your own analytics in Google and you see what pages they're coming in, but they're only staying 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 3 seconds, it's time to go back and look at that page. Whatever
Mhm.
they thought they would find, they're not finding.
Mhm.
It's time to go back and look at that page. So it's a way for me to determine how they're coming in, what pages they're going to, and where they're spending the most time. I recently created a page that says start here. It's in the menu. It literally says start here.
Okay.
And when they scroll down that page, there is a massive information. You can join the email list, you can get on my group list, you can become a VIP, you can do all these things. But what's interesting is, since this is a newer page, I was particularly interested in the analytics. They are spending well over a minute on that page. So I'm like, okay, yay, job well done, Margie. Let's see if we can get them to stay for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I watch intently like that when I create new pages on the website to see who's visiting them, or when I create new pages to like blog posts or things. I'll give you one other quick example in regards to looking at the pages. So I created a blog post on Moroccan souks. And I did that because I have this whole destination page centered around Morocco, and I wanted blog posts and content on the website for Morocco. So I'm steady writing posts, and I did this one. The cover image on it, I struggled to find a cover image. And the reason why is because when you think iconic Morocco, like what images come to mind? Unless you're talking the Fez Tannery, not a whole lot of other things other than Sahara comes to mind, right? When you think Morocco,
I'm
think
thinking the tile.
what image comes to mind, you know? And so I was trying to get a really beautiful picture for the cover and I just for the heading and I couldn't find one. So I found this one that was like a sook, but it gave more of a Middle Eastern feel a little bit.
Okay.
And I noticed nobody was paying attention to that post. Nobody. So I went back and I changed the cover image to the really vibrant colors of Morocco, a souk picture that's really vibrant in color. And now I'm seeing engagement on that page. So makes the difference, makes a huge difference. But that's one thing is how customers come to your website and how they behave once they get there. And you'll quickly see if you're not getting any traffic too to your website at all.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is
Or
all
your product.
from Google Analytics and kind of like reverse engineering what you need to be paying attention to. Because one of the notes that you had left for me is the difference between, especially like when you're trying to make decisions in your business, what is a conversion problem versus what is a traffic problem. And I
Right.
was like, yes, because you can have, let's say, 50 podcast interviews, but if none of those podcast interviews convert, you're getting the traffic, but you're not turning them over into clients. So what's the reason for the drop off there?
Well, it could be a number of things. Either the people who are coming to your website aren't interested in the traffic you have or
Mhm.
the content you have. They're
Right.
not interested. Or it could be even a design issue related to the site, especially if you see them coming and leaving, coming and leaving. If you see a lot of them coming, let's say you are getting traffic, but nobody's converting, nobody's becoming an email subscriber, nobody's filling out the form to schedule a consultation with you, then I would do one of two things. If I see them coming, you can actually see, depending on how your website is set up, whether they're actually clicking on the forms you have there.
Mm,
Are they hidden? Are they not in the right place? Maybe you need to change it to a pop-up. What's happening there? In the software that I use, I can actually see how many people like clicked on the form, how many people completed it, and gives me a conversion percentage. So if I'm not getting any conversions, but everybody's looking at it, I need to change my message on the form. I'm doing a bad job of that. Or
yeah.
maybe the content that you have doesn't have a call to action on it. It's just a piece of content. We write
Mm-hmm.
blog posts and we don't put a call to action on them. We just stick them out there and it's great content, but they're done reading and they move on.
Right.
If you want them to do something, you have to ask them to do something. But that's part of the problem, I think, and analytics can help you figure that out is, do you have a traffic problem and nobody's coming to your website?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they coming, but nobody's converting? Two totally different things you have to address.
Very much so, because I feel like we're so focused on the conversion part that we miss out on the traffic part. And traffic is what we need for conversions to happen. Because I know we like to talk about social media and email marketing a lot, which is super helpful. But no one can get on your email list unless you've asked them to go on your email list. And nobody's
Right.
going to follow you unless you've asked them to follow you in some method, because it could be you have really great content, but you have to
Yes.
ask them, because call to actions also shouldn't be buy from me, work with me. Like you have to have a little bit of variety in there too.
Well, because everybody's saying bye, do this, do
Yeah.
that. If nothing else, when they come to the website, and I don't expect that a first-time visitor is going to say, oh, I want a consultation with her. I don't expect that at all.
Hmm.
So a couple of things I'm looking for is to see that I'm getting return visitors, that the people who were here before are coming back.
Hmm.
It's tougher to get new clients than it is to keep the ones you have.
Right.
Well, I'm looking for return visits and to see
Hmm.
that people are coming back to my content. And that does involve me creating lots of it. So September, I was doing 2 blog posts a month. I wanted content out there. And then I decided October, I was going to go one, no, that's wrong. August, I did 2 a month.
Uh-huh.
Middle of September, I started doing one a week. And now they're scheduled all the way out through the third week of October. I've got one more to schedule. So all of October will be scheduled here shortly. But when the content is out there, what are you doing with it, I guess? You can't just post it and hope somebody finds it. Are you
Boom.
sharing it on social media? What's your marketing plan for that blog post? Are
Uh-huh.
you pinning it on Pinterest so you can get more traffic to it? You can't just create content and throw it on your website. You've got to find a way to get people to see it. Don't depend on Google to send people to your website. You go find places to put that blog post and make sure people are seeing your content.
Very much so. I know everything that happened with Google's helpful content update last year, I believe, kind of wrapped up-ish, but it's still Google is always updating the algorithm to hopefully make it more user-friendly to the users. I feel like recently it hasn't really been as user-friendly to the users. But that's, I think a couple months ago, I had said you have to have a multi-channel marketing campaign, marketing structure because of that. Because I know there were a lot of people, specifically bloggers, who were like, Google is the be all end all, quickly found out that is not the case. So you have to be on multiple channels. And
Yes.
search engines to me is a Google, is a YouTube, is a Pinterest. Um, Podcasts also have their own search engine. Pretty much whoever has a little search bar is a search engine.
Mm-hmm. I think it's so important. It's one of the first things I do. So for instance, I had a new blog post happen today, and I am probably before the end of the night going to sit down and create my Pinterest pins. I'm going to share it on my Google business profile. I'm going to post it on social media, and I'm just going to make the rounds. I actually
Mhm.
started putting my post in Flipboard, and I'm going to look at a
Nice.
couple of different aggregators to try to get my content out there. But
Mhm.
what you can't do is just create it and leave it.
Beep boop. Yep.
Doesn't work.
Yep. When you're creating a blog post, are you using any tools like Ahrefs or key search to kind of really maximize any keywords that you might have within the post so that it gets found a little bit more easier?
I'll go into Google search and I will type in, like if I would be searching for the post I'm creating, I would type in words to see what other content is out there first and foremost that's
Okay.
ranking on the first page. I want to know what my competition looks like. And then once I've settled in on what they're writing about, I will then start my content, get my blog post done, make sure the keywords that I think most people are using to search for this type of content
Mhm.
are, and make sure it's in the header, make sure it's several times throughout the blog post, make sure that it's in the URL and all those fun on-page SEO things you need to do to get it found.
Mhm.
I do have a tool on my website. It's actually called Squirrely SEO. I know that's a weird.
Okay.
Most people use Yoast. I have a WordPress
I've heard that.
website. I use Squirrely because it has some really great features in it for people who are beginners in SEO. And I don't think I'm a beginner, but I wanted it simple. Let's say
Yes.
that.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I feel like the simpler and easier we can make analytics to consume, the more that we're going to be able to use them, because that's something in the podcasting world that like really aggravates many of us, is that there's not like one, it's not like YouTube. I feel like YouTube might have like probably some of the best analytics there is out there, whereas like in the podcast space you have to go to this place and this place and this place, and they all will give you the full picture, but you can't go to one place to give you the full picture of what's happening and how your content is performing.
So scattered. It's tough to, the hardest thing I think it is for people is just that process of having to go here
Mhm.
and find that and having to go here and find that. But if you're really interested in what's happening in your data, you want to know. We when I'm sitting here doing my social media particularly, I'm looking to see what's resonating
Mm.
and what things people are most interested in. It's difficult to tell sometimes because, you could kind of get equal engagement across most things, which is great. But I'm looking to see what kinds of posts, whether it's photos, videos, or carousels, or any of that kind of stuff you're doing. One
Mhm.
thing I quickly learned that my audience, and this is probably a big aha for some people, maybe,
Mhm.
but my audience is not on Instagram. Mm-mm.
Mm,
My audience is on
interesting.
Facebook. However, I'm going to do a test just out of my craziness. I'm going to do a test and I'm going to delete my entire business page on Instagram and start it all over. Unless
Ooh.
I'm going to delete the whole thing.
So how did you determine, because I know there's data points for there, how did you determine that your audience was on Facebook and not on Instagram?
Where I'm getting engagement.
What
That's what
does it?
I'm slowly looking at. And when I say engagement,
Mhm.
I don't necessarily just means clicks, likes and all of that. Those are great, but that doesn't move the needle for my business at all. It
Mhm.
keeps me top of mind, but it doesn't move the needle for my business. So what I'm looking at to see, number one, is my stuff being shown in the news feed. You can tell that by reach and by impressions, whether your stuff is seen in the news feed.
Mhm.
It is, that's great. The second thing I'm going to look for is referrer traffic from that website in Google Analytics. So I'm looking to see, is Facebook sending me traffic? Is Instagram sending me people? Where are they coming from when you're talking social media?
Mhm.
And once I can see those metrics, you can pretty well determine where to spend your time. So
Mhm.
for me, it was Facebook, it's not Instagram.
That is so interesting. And I feel like because there's so many different tools on each one, because I'm like, my Facebook page is a no-go. My Facebook group, a little bit better. So it is fascinating to see, like, even on social media, because I feel like sometimes even like likes and comments aren't enough. Because I think like that's another way to look at data points is what works for you and what means something to you versus what means something to the algorithm.
Yeah.
Because while you might like links or likes and comments, the algorithm wants to see shares and saves.
Well, and we also know that Facebook isn't real fond of you popping in links and sending people off the platform. We
Mm-hmm.
know that. They're not real fond of that. You can do it, but they're not real fond of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to find ways to create content that doesn't necessarily send them off. If you post a link in a comment, I know that's kind of the newer thing to do. Maybe you can get past that a little bit, but yeah, with social media, I'm not looking to build a huge following. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
looking to get, 1,500 likes on every post. I mean, that's great if it happens, but that's not my goal. My
Mm-hmm.
goal is to keep my business top of mind and get them from, Facebook or Instagram, if that's what you're using, over to my website and getting my email list. In my
Mm-hmm.
email list, I can market to you. I can do whatever I want to outside of all of the social media platforms where I have to deal with algorithms. So my goal is to get them off. That's my sole purpose on social media. I'm not trying to sell a trip there or anything like that unless I'm using ads.
Mm-hmm.
Casual posting, the goal is to keep me top of mind and get you off of there onto my website and hopefully into my email list.
Mm-hmm. When you mention your email list, what are some of the big data points that you're looking at in your email marketing platform?
So there's plenty that you can look at, but I want to make sure that deliverability is happening. People are getting it. Number two, I'm also looking at how many opens I'm getting. Are they actually looking? Are they just ignoring my content right now? Um, the other thing I'm looking at, are they clicking through to any of the links?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that there's interest there and what are they clicking on if they are.
Mm-hmm.
So the main things that I'm looking at, maybe even conversions if you have an email platform that can track those and you're selling something directly through your email, maybe even you're looking at conversions too.
Mm-hmm. That I feel is like another interesting point. Like when you are directing traffic to like a discovery call page or to submit an inquiry, if you're seeing a lot of traffic coming, but the conversions aren't coming, what exactly might you look at that needs to be tweaked? Is this like, I know some people have talked about button colors, even just the copy on buttons, the messaging that's on the page.
So how long is the form? I'm going to ask that. A
Ooh.
consultation form. How long and complicated is the form?
Hmm.
How much detail are you asking them in that form? And
Hmm.
is all of that really necessary to have before you get on the phone with them? Think about what you absolutely need to know before they get on the phone. I'll tell you what, I had this form. I think it's still out there linked on one page, but I have this form that you go ahead and you tell me about your trip. And then your next step is to schedule a call with me. They may not be ready for all that. I could literally see people fill out the form, but I would never get any scheduled
Hmm.
calls. They don't want to do all that on the first interaction. It was very obvious they didn't want to do any of that stuff on the first interaction. They just wanted to talk to me about a trip
Hmm.
or send a form and have me email back about a trip.
Hmm.
So, how complicated is the form they're filling out? Is it too much? Even when you're trying to get or offer them downloads or you have pop-ups on your website, how much information are you asking for?
Hmm.
I would never put in a pop-up my phone number. You're not getting it. I don't even know you yet. You're not getting it. I don't even know if I'm gonna love your content. You're not getting it.
Yeah.
So think, you have to be reasonable. Think about what you would do and what you wouldn't do. And honestly, if I were a consumer getting ready to book with a travel advisor, I'm not filling out a form that's got 15 different questions for me. I'm just not. There's too much.
Well, and I think I'm not sure if it's in my conversation with Courtney or this is Courtney Nichols or a recent conversation she's had on a different channel, but she's like, "You're not even my client when you're filling out that form. So I
Correct.
don't need to know all of your information because there's a potential that we may not even work together."
Absolutely correct. She is telling the truth. You
Uh-huh.
need to be as basic and simple as possible and get them in your list, get them to schedule a consultation. On that consultation, you can ask all of that stuff, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can ask all of that stuff if you decide to work together, but beforehand, you're making it's too much of a hurdle for them. They're just not going to jump over that. And you as a consumer wouldn't jump over that hurdle either. So think about yourself when you're creating those forms and whether you would actually do that.
Right, right. I think there's like a fine line between like trying to grab information and then also like grabbing enough information that you know that the client is going to be serious and not flake out on you. Because I think like that's the concern about maybe not asking too many questions is that you're going to get ghosted on the discovery call or.
You may, and I don't think you can pre-qualify them from a form. I just don't think you can do it. You can try, but you're putting too many hurdles in again, and they're just not going to. If you really want to be specific about it, you can do something that says my trips start at.
Hmm.
If they don't have that budget, they just won't fill out the form,
Hmm.
right? Or make them select a budget on the form, a simple, thing where it's a price range and, start where your trips start at. If you're
Hmm.
afraid that it's going to be a low budget trip and get a name, email address, where are you going, when are you going, budget, and schedule a call. Be done with it. So you'll know right away if none of that's their budget, then they're not working with you.
Right. You can immediately like put the blinders on almost, or let
Uh-huh.
them put the blinders on, be like, I'm in the wrong place. Let them self-elect on
Exactly.
that.
It just takes a little bit of massaging of that form. And
Hmm.
there's that line between getting enough information and asking for too much. So if you're seeing people are coming to the form, but nobody's filling it out, you really got to take a step back and look at that form.
Yeah. Now, when we're thinking about this, because I'm crossing like into operational realm also, because there's data points too on the operational perspective to like be aware of. So once somebody has filled out the form, and they've gotten on a call with you, how many of those are closing and they're actually becoming clients? And then how many people are coming back? So, in that process of like client experience, what are some data points that you're looking at there?
So you some of those you're going to have to track manually because what you're now doing is you're creating your close rate on the number of consultations you have versus how many sales you actually close. And this is a super important number because if you're trying to look at how much commission you want to earn or certain things that you want to sell, you kind of need to know what your close rate is. So if you only close maybe 3 sales out of every 10,
Hmm.
then if you want to get, sell a certain percentage amount of, say, AMA waterways, for instance, then you're going to have to get enough clients coming in wanting AMA waterways to close a certain number of sales to reach a certain commission level. It's
Right.
kind of a three-step process here, but you may end up tracking that a little more manually with what your sales look like and your closing rate is.
Yeah, because I don't think, what's your thoughts on like tech that helps with that? Because I feel like we're a little bit behind. And I don't know if other industries are similar or different, but being able to say like 51% of my sales are from River Cruise or this supplier, or most of my clients choose this type of vacation over other vacations.
So I don't think right now that most of the travel CRMs track it that way. That would be like a Salesforce or something in there where you track leads in and you can actually say this is closed and it'll
Hmm.
kind of calculate that. HubSpot would do it. Those sort of platforms will track that sort of thing.
Hmm.
But I don't think we have that capability yet in any of our travel software. It's
Hmm.
people coming in, you put in a trip and you book a trip and you're done. So you don't see that the differences in between the people you've spoken with and the people you actually close. Those are more like HubSpot and Salesforce that gives you that kind of tracking.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unless you're pretty savvy, like in Excel sheets or Google Sheets, and you can input the data or have the data imported like via Zap or something, I feel hard to track those, which are really key for determining metrics within your business as well, on top of
So
the marketing.
it really, really is. I mean, just knowing how you're doing overall in closing your sales and taking, you might need to take a little bit more training about how to close a sale. I know travel advisors, we we kind of shun that whole word that we're salespeople, but for real, you are.
We are, yeah. Well, I know I was like, we could keep talking about all these different metrics, but we don't have all the time in the world, unfortunately. But I think this was like a really good highlight as to some of the metrics, what you should be looking at, how you can make different changes. I know you're working on a little something.
Yes,
So can we get a little tease on that?
I am working on a really great data platform. And what this will do is bring all of your data points from social media, email marketing, even if you've got little side hustles and you're using Shopify or any of those other commerce tools, Google Analytics and Google Search Console, it'll pull it all into one dashboard so you can see it all there. You don't have to log into Google Analytics, then log into your Facebook business suite to see
Yeah.
all of that, and then log into your email marketing platform. You don't have to do that anymore. You can go to insightfuldatapoints.com, and it hasn't launched yet, but soon, and you'll be able to create a dashboard there and pull all of that data. You just connect the platforms and all of that data just flows in. And let me tell you, it just makes my job so much easier as a business owner.
Yeah, to be able to look at it and then like create almost like a process or a routine that every Monday I'm going to check this, or every 15th of the month I'm going to check this to see where I'm at and see where tweaks need to be made. I'm like, I know I'm pretty excited about this.
Actually sends you reports too, so you don't even have to log in. You can put in the report the things you are most interested in, and it'll just send you a report every week or however often you want it.
That is incredible. Margie, thank you so much for being here. We're going to link everything down below, but what is the best platform if people wanted to connect with you?
So the best one is on Facebook. I am there pretty much every day. And on all social media platforms, I'm Margie Travels on all social media platforms.
Awesome. And I have to give a huge shout out to our amazing partners for Prep for Wave Week for helping to make this a live baby happening and being presented to you this week. So our presenting partners are TA Toolkit and Travify. And then our premier partners are Inflow Design Co., Lucia, and Find Travel. So huge thank you. And again, big thanks to you, Margie, for sharing some of your wisdom on data today.
Thank you so much. It was so fun to be here.
Yes, I always enjoy chatting with you on really, we go all through all topics in travel. Travel advisors, thank you so much for tuning in. You have a couple more presentations. And then if you are in study hall, I will see you at 3 p.m. Eastern. All right, bye.